It is your program of choice, Health Affair on AIT, a platform where we focus on public health challenges, issues about women and children, with a view to providing lasting solutions. I am your regular anchor, Ushuomowa Daniels, and you're welcome. Our focus for this week is on ending Buruli Ulcer and Leprosy in Nigeria. Please stay tuned, don't go away, as we begin the discussion right after our news segment.
One passenger, big aunty. Come and enter my bus now.
Hey, conductor, this cough is serious. I beg, you need to go to the hospital.
Hospital? Aunty, if I go hospital now with this cough, those people will just say I have COVID-19.
No, they won't. Doctors say cough symptoms are different in every condition. Some are dry, others are wet, like your own.
God bless you, aunty. I have told this my conductor. The cough has refused to go, and it could be tuberculosis.
Conductor, check am o. Make you dey sure, because who no go, no go, no.
Check that cough for tuberculosis.
Check am o, make you dey sure.
If your cough is more than 2 weeks, it could be tuberculosis. TB tests and TB treatment are free. Just call the National TB Hotline on 3340 for information on where to get the test. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Health with support from the American people.
According to the diabetic lifestyle, the amount of exercise we did today is enough to suppress our glucose or the increase in our blood sugar.
Dewale Abdulrazak is a diabetic patient taking part in this 10 kilometers awareness walk around some parts of the Lagos metropolis to mark the 2022 World Diabetes Day. Apart from the awareness creation of the walk, it is to demonstrate the importance of exercise to the prevention and management of diabetes.
Children with diabetes need to have exercise. Not just children with diabetes, everybody should make sure that they exercise. At least, if it's a minimum of a walk, 30 minutes a day, it will help to make sure that you are okay. If before we left, each one of them did their blood glucose, and the reason for that is wanted to be sure that their blood glucose was up to normal. They have taken their food, they've taken their insulin, and when they want to go, we don't want them to become hypoglycemic. And then immediately we came back, if you also notice, they started doing their blood glucose. And the reason is that if the blood glucose had also dipped, they should take something. So in a way, we're also trying to teach them how to manage themselves if they have to do any exercise. This is it's about 7% of the population, of the adult population in Nigeria are diabetics. So that's quite a lot, all right? So we run in millions. And for the children, we have gradually been seeing an increase in the number of diabetic children that's diagnosed.
Diabetes is an incurable disease categorized into type 1 and type 2. The risk factors include hereditary, poor diet, obesity, and unhealthy lifestyle habits.
I have twins. The first twin was diagnosed in 2018 with type 1 diabetes. The one that happens in children makes them insulin dependent, meaning they can't eat or sleep or live without insulin. So that's what we've been doing for 4 years now. And, it's like a lifelong thing. After our diagnosis, it was devastating, but I went online, I read about type 1 diabetes. I saw people who have lived with type 1 for as long as 75 years. And, I have hope. Once, she has the insulin, I have hope. We have hope.
There have been a lot of misdiagnoses. Because when it comes to children, sometimes they present as if they have severe malaria. Sometimes they present as if they have severe pneumonia. Sometimes they present as if they have severe gastroenteritis. So sometimes they present as if they have meningitis. So many times over the years, because we are so used to infectious diseases, so when children come like that, we just think it is malaria. And a lot of children have been inadvertently taken away because they will think that they are in shock. And you know what they would not give them in some places? Dextrose, glucose. So by the time they've run the glucose, like 15 minutes, the child is gone. The children tend to have the type 1. The type 1 is because they can't produce enough insulin, and that's why we have to give them insulin back. Whereas for the adults, it's not that they can't produce insulin, but because many of them, usually it's because they are obese, so that fat tends to drive. It tends to drive the insulin. So the insulin is, although it's pouring out so much, but it's not effective. So at the end of the day, they are diabetic. And that's why sometimes for the adults, we put them on a diet, and the diabetes will be controlled. But then it's just a minimal control, because once they put on weight again, the blood sugar will go up. Maybe there's a teacher, she's noticing this child is drinking so much water. In fact, stealing other people's water. You should check, because diabetes will make you very thirsty. Or you see a child that is saying, excuse me ma, or mommy or something, and he's going to the toilet. Or you have a child that was dry before, has stopped bedwetting, all of a sudden started bedwetting. Or you find a child that appetite has increased, is eating so much, but it's not gaining weight, instead it's losing weight. Then you should think also that this child may have diabetes. So those are common symptoms that, if you notice, there are some other uncommon symptoms, such as a child that maybe is losing weight or drinking too much water, and they keep telling you his eyes is doing something. Check the blood sugar. Or you find a child that maybe is also drinking too much or is bedwetting and is having, like nightmares. You should also think like, could this be diabetes? No child with diabetes should die. We should give them optimal. So we want the government to make sure that every child with diabetes has free access to insulin. That is the best. The people that have sponsored us today are we call them Changing Diabetes in Children. It's been by Novo Nordisk, and they have decided to sponsor this program today to also create awareness. And they've also given free insulin to the children, and even the glucometer and the reagents. And we also have their counterparts, the ones that are into the Lilly product. They call them Life for a Child. They too have been giving our children free insulin, free glucometer, but we want the government to take over, because after a while, these people will go, or we start having more than they can cope. So they want the government to also provide free insulin, free glucometer, free HbA1c, and every other things that these children need to be able to live a life that is optimal.
People that are living with diabetes, that's not the end of the world. They can do anything. You can become anything from with diabetes. If you know how to take care of yourself, you know what to do at a time, you know what you eat, you know what to take in, you know what to take out, you are good to go. The sky is the limit.
World Diabetes Day is marked on the 14th of November every year to raise awareness about the disease. The theme for the 2022 celebration is Education to Protect Tomorrow.
World Kindness Day is an international holiday launched in 1998 by the World Kindness Movement Organization in Tokyo. Celebrated 13th of November every year, participants attempt to make the world a better place by promoting good deeds and pledging acts of kindness, either as an individual or an organization. Being a Sunday, not much could be done in Nigeria on that day, but people, however, took the opportunity to commemorate the global event on Monday, 14th of November 2022. Around Meron area of Lagos State, students of Good Shepherd schools and teachers were seen in their large numbers working and preaching the message of kindness in different languages to promote diversity.
Who decided to send its students to educate the public on the celebration that happened yesterday, which is the World Kindness Day. And as you can see, it's going on pretty well.
Inculcate the habit of kindness, and they should not see kindness as a minor virtue, but a very important and major virtue that everybody is expected to have.
We are preparing them for leadership in future, and of course, for any leader to be good, the leader must be kind. And one way you can show kindness is to volunteer for things like this, to enlighten the community, to enlighten people, create awareness about something that is destroying lives.
Worried about the devastating effect of climate change, resulting in flooding across some states in Nigeria, the attendant loss of lives and disease outbreak, They urge people to be kind to the environment through proper waste disposal.
When the weather changes, you will see people take their dirt to the gutter to go and dispose, and that will affect how water will flow. And if the water is not channeled properly, it's going to affect a lot of people in their houses. So I would say that henceforth, or moving forward, every citizen on planet Earth should learn how to take care of the earth, because for now we don't have another planet we can live. Those that want to consider recycling business, because what plastic and plastic materials have been doing to life below water and life on land is terrible. We've seen whales dying as a result of consuming plastic and plastic materials for as huge as 100 grams. A pregnant whale consumes about 50 grams, like that, and it's destroying the environment, it's destroying the ecosystem. So in line with the Sustainable Development Goals 13, 14 and 15, climate action, life below water and life on land respectively, that's why we have decided to come out to say every human being needs to be kind to their environment.
A lot of them believe they are passive members of their environment, but this work, this awareness has given them an enlightenment to know how they can impact the environment. If they show kindness to people around them, they teach people how to show kindness, then they have an environment they can live in without the fear of any harsh condition, any harsh environment.
It has been a very great way for we students to be able to give back to our community and our environment. So we've all been clamoring for changes in the country, so this is the time for us to actually start making those actual changes.
The theme for the 2022 celebration is be kind whenever possible. Pneumonia is a contagious infection that affects the lungs. It is spread through airborne droplets with symptoms like fever, chills, difficulty in breathing, and coughs, whispers. Despite the effectiveness of immunization in the prevention of pneumonia, many people are missing out of the vaccines, thereby increasing the number of persons falling ill from the disease.
Pneumonia kills people, especially children under 5 years old. So we want to use this opportunity to encourage parents to take up their children for vaccinations. Okay, the Nigerian government has been so kind as to make vaccinations free, immunizations free for children under 5 years old.
When you're sick of pneumonia, you go to the hospital, you spend time in the hospital, you pay bills, you do x-ray, and all these that cost money. So, but we have a way to prevent it. At this time, in 2022, people should not be dying in their numbers from pneumonia. As it's commonly said, prevention is better and cheaper than cure.
World Pneumonia Day is marked 12th of November every year to raise awareness about the dangers of the disease.
Do not believe all these rumors and misconceptions you hear online and on social media about vaccines. Recall that about a year ago or two, when the COVID was high, they said all those that have taken this thing, that by now we would have, right? But see me, I'm alive and healthy. So you can see that those people who were saying those things were conspiracy theorists, right? They were people who were trying to harm people by telling false news that will make them not to vaccinate and then causing deaths, right? So please do not listen to them. Vaccines are safe. They go through a rigorous process before they are certified. They help in not just making sure they remain healthy and alive, but they have education, economic, and other huge benefits. So get vaccinated today.
The theme for the 2022 celebration is Pneumonia Affects Everyone. The day was marked in Lagos State with various activities to raise awareness about the disease.
The emergence of zoonotic diseases like Lassa fever, yellow fever, and other re-emerging infections have become a public health burden, threatening national security with serious social-economic impact on Nigerians. The situation is further worsened with the ravaging floods across the country that has rendered many homeless and prone to diseases. It is to avert the impending danger that this team of NIMR scientists embarked on this research.
Lagos State, Delta State, we're in Edo State, and we are spreading out the more as we're getting collaborators. We're looking out for these viruses that ordinarily we don't have diagnostics in the country to look out for. And you will see many people, for instance, say they have fever. The test is not malaria, it's not typhoid. They don't know what it is, but they still are not feeling well.
It's because we don't have kits, we don't have assays that we can use to screen for these other viruses. So we have now decided in Nigeria Institute of Medical Research to screen for these viruses. Are they there? Let's look out for them. Are they there so that we can inform the NCDC, the states, and the other policymakers that, look, this is what we are finding, so that we can take precautions. And we are spreading out.
We identified Vibrio cholera in 9 local governments out of the 20 local governments in Lagos State. So if we have about 45% of our canals contaminated with Vibrio cholera, what does it mean? There is a ticking time bomb of outbreak of cholera, an impending one.
Detected yellow fever and dengue fever in recent samples are circulating in Delta State, especially in the Ikan Northeast local government. The samples that were collected between August and October this year, just about 2-3 months ago, we were able to detect about 13 positive dengue 1 samples, RNA circulating in that place. That tells us that there is an active spread of these viruses in these areas, and they are majorly transmitted by Aedes mosquito.
Their findings also included a microbial analysis on sachet water in Lagos State and a call for proper handling and packaging.
Water in a cup, according to what we are doing, can be safe. But when you store it for a long period of time, a lot can come into play. So all these sachet water are all sealed and sold, not immediately after production, but some days after. Even if we procure it on that particular day, we don't use the whole bag that same day. So what happened between the time of production and the particular time we are picking it up? And is it good for our system? If not, what can arise it? And when we get an infection, now, are we working with an isolate that can easily be treated in our healthcare facilities, or we have to spend more money because we drink polluted water? According to our manufacturers, well, according to them, they said that when they have an advocacy chart with their consumer, especially their major distributors, in which they told them that when you pick up our bags, please don't place it under the sun. When you pick up the bags, don't put it on the ground floor, put it on an elevation level. All this thing helps. But even with all this, we still observe pathogens in them. So that means that they still have to do more to make sure that their own sachet water are very, very pure.
Other suggestions given by the researchers include upscaling of yellow fever vaccination for Nigerians and massive investment in vector control to reduce the burden of malaria across the country.
Vector control can tell the story. It can really tell a lot of story. Both at the national level and at the local level, we may think we are winning the war, really, against mosquitoes and vector control, because really, the whole essence of vector control is to reduce the population of mosquitoes to the level in which they are no longer a problem. They are not able to transmit whether malaria parasite or viruses or anything. When we reduce the population, if let's say we had 50 mosquitoes that usually bite one, and out of the 50, maybe 20 are infected. If you are able to kill 45 out of these 50, you are left with only 5 mosquitoes to bite, and maybe only one of them will be infected. So you reduce the risk of transmission. And but unfortunately, we have been investing at the national level in vector control, but we haven't been investing enough. One mutation to occur, and once that mutation occurs, it causes viral escape. And once you have viral escape, it's synonymous to resistance. And once you have that, you have a new strain, a different strain or the same strain with a particular mutation, and before you know what is happening, it is spreading, people are coming down, and the vaccine we are focusing all our attention on may not work at the rate at which it's supposed to.
A healthy population, people often say, builds a prosperous nation. But many Nigerians are threatened on a daily basis and die needlessly due to diseases, poor health care, malnutrition, and lack of access to relevant health information. The sorry state of our health infrastructure is also a major challenge. On Health Affair, Oshomo Daniels brings these challenges to the attention of relevant authorities for a lasting solution. For sponsorship and advert placements, please call the numbers showing on your screen. Health Affair, your access to good health through relevant information.
Welcome back. Buruli ulcer and leprosy are neglected tropical diseases that affect the skin. They are still endemic in some communities in Nigeria, resulting in an increasing rate of deformity for affected persons. Please listen to a special report on this.
Buruli ulcer is it's an infection that has to do with the skin, the cutaneous tissue, sometimes affects the bones. It's caused by Mycobacterium ulcerans. So, and it's very prevalent amongst the people in the rural areas where you have stagnant water. In fact, it's been fingered that, there are some insects, in those water that could, or maybe in those environments that could, maybe a little scratch that can penetrate your skin. Sometimes you may even have a wound, and if it's exposed to that bacteria, it can trigger it. So when it enters the skin, it starts growing. Another thing there is that if it gets a secondary bacterial infection, it becomes very troublesome. It can eat up the skin, eat up the muscles, eat up the bones, enter the bones. And if it gets to the third stage, it comes up with contracture. It's majorly found along the limbs, the lower limbs and the upper limbs. The lower limbs around 62%, 64% around the lower limbs, because they're the ones very closer. Then I think the upper limb 20%. Then it can affect other parts of the body, the neck, and so most of the times the cases come late at the third stage.
The need for continuous advocacy around Buruli ulcer in Nigeria cannot be overemphasized, as there are still communities where the disease is endemic. Our crew met Mr. Sunday Olokere and some children at Idogbo Clinic, a community in Egbado South local government area of Ogun State, during a recent field trip with some international experts and a team from the Federal Ministry of Health.
It just be like boy the time that it was started, but when I accompany it's from there it can be bring water. So I use many medicine and many injections, not cure in time. First of all, they give me this tetanus injection. So later they can give me the tablet that I should begin using it. So and when I reach house, I used to take hot water to heat it so that it can heal in time. Now it's getting to 4 months now. And sometimes you just the heat, you just the hot, like say I put it for hot water.
The place is endemic, and many villages are involved on it. The main cause is around a river, and children in this age are mostly affected. Yes, the case we saw is a case was old case. He has been treated, but he still need physiotherapy. If not, this can generate more complications or more disability. The likely complication is that he will not be able to use at all that hand completely. Yeah, because it will completely damage it if something is done, if nothing is done.
Being in the community, they don't know what it is, so they hide, and then until this situation now get bad, they will think that the disease is caused by witchcraft, or maybe you offend somebody, they now use juju against you. That is why, like this small boy now that we just saw today, what happened is that they never knew it would go bad. After being treated, they didn't take him for a proper physiotherapy to be doing massaging the hand, stretching the hand, doing exercise with the hand. So you can see that it is swollen. So the ulcer that's already gone is now back because it was being mismanaged.
I think this
part of Ogun State. Buruli Ulcer is endemic from what we have seen so far. So I'm going to push it to the headquarters because it has been proposed in the past for Damian Foundation Belgium to support Buruli Ulcer control in Nigeria. But I'm going to follow it up to ensure that the Buruli Ulcer is part of what Damian Foundation is supporting in Nigeria.
Like Buruli Ulcer, leprosy is another tropical disease still endemic in Nigeria.
Leprosy is a skin disease that is a bacterial infection, that comes with manifestation on the skin, cutaneous tissues. Sometimes it could get to the bones and affects the nerve endings, the skin, sometimes the limbs, the nose, and others. So it's caused by a bacterium called microbacterium lepre. So it was first discovered by a great scientist called Hansen. So that's why before it used to be called Hansen disease. Now it runs a very slow, it's a very patient, the organism is a very patient one. It runs a very long and insidious one. And so many people do not know that this is what is going on. You see someone with patches that is hypopigmented on the skin, and some people may think it's normal pityriasis vesicular or vitiligo. But one thing about it is that pain is very important. Pain saves us from a lot of things. When you have pain, you react. But on this case, if you touch the skin, the person doesn't feel any pain. Because it affects, yes, that's number one. And sometimes because it affects the nerve endings, people may hit their legs. People that have it may hit their leg on the wall. They won't know it's painful, and then the thing is eating. And that's why it affects, when it starts affecting those areas. You see people with claw hands, so that doesn't affect the fingers and the toes. And then some people, the nose, they have this nasal bead will fall. You understand me? It can even make people to get blind. Nigeria joined the global world, in achieving the elimination target in 2000. That elimination target was that you're getting less than one case in a population of 10,000 people. But 20 years after, we are seeing that the leprosy is coming back.
Currently, there are over 2,000 reported cases of leprosy, and children are mostly affected, with an attendant increase in the rate of deformity.
The data we have is that 9% of the proportion are children. So children coming up with leprosy means that the infection is new.
The irreversible damage of deformity from leprosy is a major challenge and factor that drives stigmatization as observed in most communities. We are at Iberekodo leprosy community in Abeokuta area of Ogun State, Nigeria. The people here have been treated and cured of the disease, but the irreversible damage of deformity remains a big challenge that makes them dependent on other people for survival.
Came here in year 2001. So I discovered this thing when I was in school. I'm in DSS3 then. So I had some tiny spashes at the back of my hair. So they told me to go to the hospital and confirm, to check, to see the medical doctors. So when I get to the hospitals, they carry out some tests and they tell me that it is leprosy. It affected us because we can't do as we wanted to do. You can do a little. We can just do a little because A lot of us are doing nothing we are doing here. People feeding, especially our children. We call for help.
A lot of people still run away from people with leprosy. Based on the focus group we did and for the two different groups, we can see that there is still a stigma. They stigmatize those with leprosy, especially those that have grade 2 disability. Grade 2 disability means that those that have their leg cut off, their hand chopped up, do you understand? So they still run away from them. So we still have to go back and sit with our team in Abuja when developing our new strategic plan. Part of the roadmap is to come back to the community to make them know actually that leprosy is not a thing that they can run away from. It is not witchcraft. It is not attack. For the patients, we have a lot to do with them. They need so many things. They need footwear. They need a lot of things.
We have a mixture of people staying in this settlement, and that comes to play over the years because a lot of awareness has been created that people affected by leprosy are not to be stigmatized. And one of the efforts of the government in ensuring that such is implemented is by establishing a public primary school here. So in this place, we have those old people that have been affected by leprosy, but they have been treated and they are no longer infectious. But you know, the damaging effects of leprosy on their body, which are irreversible damages, is what people still see, conspicuously on them. But with respect to being infectious, they are no longer infectious. Efforts have been made over the years in order to reintegrate most of them back into the community. So, but we discovered that because many of them have stayed here for a long period of time. For example, one of the people here said earlier on that he's been here since 1973. So they married here, they have given birth to children here. Some of their children they already have grandchildren. So they even intermarry among themselves. And so that even brings the population in this community to become a mixed population of those that are directly affected by leprosy and their dependents. But their dependents, part of the effort made in the past year was to ensure we do a lot of empowerment. Number one, we start from reorientation to them so that they will know that they should not self-stigmatize themselves because it all begins from the mind. Even if people are not stigmatizing them, if they have this mindset of we are outcasts, they will stigmatize themselves. So efforts have been made in order to provide a reorientation for them. Efforts have been made to empower them. And those that could not be empowered because of one disability or the other, their dependents were picked. Early case detection is the key. And that comes when there is proper health education with respect to leprosy disease. Early case detection. Once the infection is detected early, somebody can be treated and cured without any form of deformity. But what we have found out is that there is late presentation. And by the time people are discovered that have this challenge, deformity has set in. Because the organism affects the nerves. And so once the nerves are affected, there is impairment. So early case detection, we have seen people that once it is at the stage of skin patch without any nerve involvement and the person is diagnosed and is placed on treatment, there will be no deformity. So what the government can do is to do more sensitization, more awareness creation.
We are happy to know that the issue of stigma is dying down gradually. From what we heard from the patients, that now the people in the community are now even moving into the settlements to live amongst them. Two, that they are now allowing their wards to get married to siblings of people affected by leprosy. And some of them are even working in the town and staying in the town within the community. So this is good news to me personally, as well as all the stakeholders in the management of leprosy worldwide. And we hope that this kind of news will spread all over the country so that people will stop stigmatizing people affected by leprosy. Then number two, we also implore the well-to-do in the community to give children of people affected as well as abled ones among them gainful employment in the community. I believe this will also help in reducing the issue of stigma.
It is very important to know what we have on grant so that we'll be able to plan appropriately for this period. So it is a welcome idea so that we can see what we can do better. By the time you improve on whatever you want to do, naturally it comes to the masses. They benefit from it. Of course, it's going to give an immense benefit. It's going to bring an immense benefit to the people of Nigeria and of course to the world at large.
Determined to change the situation and bring both diseases to a zero level in line with the WHO target, findings from the field trip are brought under critical analysis at the Stakeholders Forum, with a view to formulating a strategic plan from 2021 to 2030, as well as a roadmap. During deliberations, experts identified low government investment in the activities of Buruli Ulcer and leprosy as a major challenge.
We know that a lot of people in the health world go through planning exercises, and probably all of us have been through many of them. I think a real key, though, to a successful plan is who is participating in it and who is carrying it out. And I think, as Mr. Peters said earlier, with the challenges related to funding at the Ministry of Health level, a partnership to address the elimination of leprosy requires much more than just the government. The leadership of the government has to be there and the commitment has to be there. But in addition, we need all of the partners at the table. And I feel really good about what I heard as far as who's been involved and engaged in this process so far. It sounds like you all do represent the key stakeholders, the key partners who are committed to ending leprosy in Nigeria. So I want to thank you all for your participation, for your commitment.
There is a WHO Global Leprosy Strategy, 2021 to 2030. Countries were asked to domesticate it, to develop a roadmap. So the essence of our coming here today for this meeting, this stakeholders meeting, is to develop the roadmap for leprosy in Nigeria and also for Buruli Ulcer activities in the country. Now, the two diseases are together in the program. We are with the TB program. So we felt that at no extra cost, we can develop a strategic plan for leprosy and Buruli Ulcer, because the strategic plan we had 2015 to 2020 had expired. So as we are in this meeting, and we still have children coming down with leprosy, and the rate of deformity is actually increasing. And the reason for this is because cases are being reported late, and it's all as a result of low funding. If there are funds, cases will be reported early because there will be what is known as the active case search, where general health care workers will go out to the field and search for cases instead of waiting for them to come and meet you.
Now, what are the signs and symptoms? You just see patches on the body. These patches, you lose sensation. It can be an enlarged noodle, which can be any part of the body. It can be loss of eyelids, dropping foot. All these are the signs and symptoms of leprosy. But what we normally ask is a common way, it's just like eczema. What we say is, once you see such, go to the nearest hospital where you have an MDT center. They will check and tell you the appropriate thing to do. One thing we also need to let people know is, once you have started treatment, it's not contagious. The incubation period varies from 5 to 20 years. And not every one of them that comes in contact with the bacteria gets infected. If the community are well sensitized, they will know about the disease. Issue of stigma and discrimination will be reduced. We are trying all efforts to ensure that community are sensitized, and in our usual way, when there are cases like that, the first place people report to is the local pharmacy, is a painted medicine vendor. So we try to sensitize them that when you have such cases, please refer them to the hospital. And also our people, they like visiting traditional healers. That's another place they go to. So we're also trying to engage the traditional healers. Yes, they are your patients, keep them, but you can use our drug for them. They will be healed. We have had such cases. We have had such cases in some parts where even the traditional healer are even down with leprosy, but unknown to them. But we'll be able to put them into the system. Then, we also believe in, we are religious people. So we just go to the faith-based organization. We go to churches. When you have issues, you go to church. So we try to discourage that also.
There are 23 countries in the world that report more than 1,000 leprosy cases per annum. And Nigeria is one of them. Just last year, we reported over 2,000 number of cases of leprosy. And as it is at the moment, leprosy control in Nigeria is purely donor-driven and donor-dependent. The government is not doing much on it, and it's feel as if it's the donors that will do something about that. There has to be kind of change of mindset that the government should take the responsibility of owning the program. I mean, this program, just like any other disease program in this country, is for Nigeria and Nigerians. And therefore, governments at all levels should come on board and do something about it, instead of leaving it to just donors and partners. As it is now, we are at the mercy of international donors. If the international donors and partners say they stop funding leprosy projects in Nigeria, then everything stops.
We're trying. We can do much better. I joined this program many years ago, and from my perspective, I think I can say that the level of stigma is declining. So at least it appears our efforts are bearing fruit. All right. When I joined, people were calling anybody who has leprosy, they called him a leper. All right. But this is a term that is very derogatory, as you know. So for now, we educate people not to use that term. Nobody should be defined by a disease. So anybody who has leprosy, who is on treatment, should be called a leprosy patient. When the treatment finishes, the person may be called a person affected by leprosy. Leprosy doesn't kill much, but it can actually cause a whole lot of deformities that make it difficult for people to have quality life. The current predominant view is that it is transmitted through the respiratory mode. In other words, just like COVID. If I have leprosy and I'm not on treatment, I emphasize, if I have leprosy and I'm not on treatment, then it means when I sneeze or cough, I can release the germs into the air, and then if you come around yourself, you can inhale it and then get infected. And depending on your immune system, it can then go from infection to disease.
I think the combination of the Ministry of Health with the ILET partners and a lot of folks who are working towards zero leprosy makes it very achievable, makes zero leprosy a very achievable target for Nigeria.
In today's age, in today's world, leprosy shouldn't be mentioned. So we are poised to, just pull out all stops to make sure that we really defeat this disease.
The strategic plan document is likely to be ready before the end of the year 2022 with appropriate plans to drive implementation. It is expected that outcome from this meeting will translate to a zero level of transmission of Buruli Ulcer and leprosy in Nigeria, zero level of stigmatization and integration of affected persons into the community. If you are just joining us, it's Health Affair on AIT. Next on the program is a nutrition segment.
It's a common saying that you are what you eat. This is why we make it a point of duty to give you information about food items, fruits, and their nutritional value to help you make healthy choices on our nutrition segment every week.
The cultivation of wheat started some 10,000 years ago with its origin traced to southeast Turkey. Wheat is a grass widely cultivated for its seeds, a cereal grain which is a worldwide staple food. Wheat comes in different varieties and is grown on more land area than any other food crops. World trade in wheat is greater than any other crops combined. In 2017, world production of wheat was 772 million tons, with a forecast for further increment in subsequent years. The global demand for wheat is increasing due to the unique viscoelastic and adhesive properties of gluten protein, which facilitates the production of processed foods. Wheat is an important source of carbohydrates. Globally, wheat is the leading source of vegetable in human foods, having a protein content of about 13%. When eaten as a whole grain, wheat is a source of multiple nutrients and dietary fiber. Enriched wheat flour is a good source of iron, thiamine, calcium, manganese, phosphorus, copper, folate, selenium, and vitamin B6. In a small part of the general population, gluten, the major part of wheat protein, can trigger some reactions. This is where moderation comes to play. Whether it is wheat or any other food or fruit you want to eat, please always do it in moderation. On our clinical segment, we give you tips for healthy living.
After the screening, if you are not done with diabetes, congratulations. If you are done with diabetes, congratulations. It's not the end of the world. Diabetes can properly be managed and we get the best out of it. In managing it, you need to comply with the medications and the treatment guideline to get the best results. So things may be tough and tight, but if you eat proper food within the limits of your ability and what you can afford, exercise and modify your lifestyle, you live longer.
We welcome your contributions on how to improve human lives on our perception segment. To be a part of this segment, please dial the numbers showing on your screen.
They shouldn't be impoverishing the nation. If actually they are getting the money to develop the nation, we would have seen it, but there's no development going anywhere. So you take from the masses, you give to nobody, and then the masses are dying. See, the government, which is the regulator of the economy, should think well on how to get Nigeria out of deep recession. We are in a deep recession, but we are not accepting it as government. But we are in deep recession. Nothing is cheap anymore. Everything has gone beyond the purchasing power of every ordinary Nigerian.
This is where we wrap up the show today. Please join us same time next week for another interesting edition. And please don't forget to advertise your health products and services on the platform. I am yours truly, Oshuomowa Danis. Please keep staying safe.